Good morning, class. I'm Sameera Ajmal, and I am excited to be here today. So, today we will be exploring a beautiful and thought provoking poem titled The Road Not Taken by one of America's most loved poets. Any guess? It's Robert Frost. Okay, before we commence, I want everybody to close your eyes and imagine what I say. So, imagine you're walking alone in a forest. The wind rustles leaves, the birds chirp from distance, and you're walking alone. Suddenly, you stood there. Why? Because there are two roads. The roads diverged in two different directions. Okay? So, which one will you choose? No signboard, no guide, just you and your choice. And you cannot stay there for longer period of time. You have to make a choice. So, open your eyes and tell me which one will you choose. Okay, so each person have different perspective and your decision is different based on, and you have your own justification for your choice, right? Yes, that's what in this particular poem the author Robert Frost captures. Okay, so before we begin, let me introduce the author bit more. So we have said initially that he's an American poet, and he always, most of his poems depicts depicts the realistic picture of rural life, and his most of his poems has complex social and philosophical themes. He has published this poem in the year he has published the poem in the year 1916 in his collection Mountain Interval, and he has received Pulitzer prizes, four Pulitzer prizes for poetry. That's all about the author's short introduction. Okay, is that clear? Shall we begin the poem? Okay, let's begin the first stanza. So, can anybody stand up and recite this? And you can tune the poem if you wish to, or else we can tune the poem later on when after the completion of this introduction and explanation. Okay, so recite it. Okay, let me start then. The first line. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. The setting of the poem in a yellow wood. Okay, a quiet forest, and it was in autumn season. Yellow wood represent, it symbolizes the autumn season of change. So he was walking alone in the forest, quiet forest. He saw a road and a point where it goes in different two directions, and he was in a dilemma. And sorry, I could not travel both. He was in a confusion that which path to choose. And sorry, I could not travel both. He cannot travel both the roads at a time. He can choose only one. And be one traveler, long I stood. He's one traveler. He cannot choose that particular both the roads at a time. Right? Long I stood, and I looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. So he stood for longer period of time, and he looked at both roads. He was looking at the right road, and he could not see the end of the road, and he looked the other road in a confusion to choose which one to choose, and he observed that road as well, but he could not see the end of that road as well. So he was in a dilemma because both roads were stretching far into the woods. And when you observe from a path, you cannot see the end of that path, right? Because the road will be with the curves, and the trees will be covered. So you may not able to see the end. In the same way, the author was in a dilemma to choose which one, and he stood for longer period of time. Let's move into the second stanza. Then took the other. Finally had made a choice. He had to make it because no other choice. He can't stay there for longer period of time. Then he chose the second one. as just as fair. He thought that would be the best choice for him, and he chose the second path, and having perhaps the better claim. And whatever the choice we make, we will justify it. There will be one reason you find for choosing that road. In the same way, he thought that that would be his best choice, because what is his justification for that? He says that it was grassy and water rare. Because it was grassy and water rare, because the justification for his selection, his choice, was because he said that it was less traveled by. Water where, this phrase means that less traveled by. Okay, so it was, and most of the people, because it was grassy and fresh leaves, and no one has traveled on, very less people had traveled on that path. That's why he has selected that path. He selected that path. Though as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. Even though both roads seemed similar, both roads seemed looked similar, but he has to make a choice, and one justification that he had for his choice was that this was less traveled, it was grassy and wanted way. That's why he chose that path. That was his justification, even though it seemed similar. Shall we go for the third stanza? Okay. And both that morning equally lay. He realized that that particular morning no one has traveled on that path. How did he understand? How did he understand that no one has traveled? Because in leaves, no step had trodden black. If someone had traveled, if someone has traveled on that morning, in that morning, maybe the leaves, when leaves crushes, when somebody walk, it may turn into black color, right? You take some leaves in your hand, you crush it, will it change its color? Definitely the leaves, the freshness will, it may lose its smoothness, and the what is the color definitely going to change, right? It may turn into black color. That's what the author realized, that that particular morning no one has traveled on both the roads, because no leaves had turned its color, changed its color. Yes. Oh, I kept the first for another day. So he chose the second road, and the other road, the first road, he said that he would come back some other time and travel that. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. Even though he said that he would come back and travel the other road next time, but he knew that that is not possible. There is no chance of coming back at all. Once you take that decision, there will be consequence of that you have to bear it, and there is no coming back. In the same way, the road which he chose, he has to move on with that, move ever ahead with that choice. There is no coming back. And he knew that. Okay. Aisha, the last stanza. Okay. I shall be telling this with a sigh. So this line you can interpret in a different way, because the poet telling this with a sigh. So you can interpret that this is a happy sigh or sad sigh. What is a sigh? Means you're taking a deep breath out, right? Like, for example, your teacher, imagine your teacher is a very strict teacher you have, and that particular teacher is absent. So will you give us happy sigh or sorrow? You will be sigh, happy, right? Happy sigh. So this at the end, after taking decision, after bearing the consequences, he might have taken a sigh that can be a happy sigh. Okay. So the author shall be telling this with a sigh, happy sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood. Now he is reflecting back, flashback. Okay, he said once past he had chosen a path, and that was less traveled by. Most of the people won't hadn't made that road as their choice. It was people very less people traveled on that particular path, and that's what the author chose. But the author says that that has made all the difference. That had brought successful life. We can interpret in that way as well, that definitely that had brought difference in his life, and he may be entered up in successful, leading a successful life. And he says that he never regretted in his life. Okay, so that's all about the poem explanation, a short explanation of this poem. I hope this poem is clear. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Now let's speak about the figure of speech used in the poem. Okay, the foremost one is metaphor, the poetic device, metaphor. So what is a metaphor? Metaphor is comparing two unlike things without using as or like. If you compare two things, unlike things with as or like, it is simile, but it's different. Metaphor means comparing two things without using as or like, right? For example, you're saying one thing is another. Okay. For example, I will give you, he is a lion on the battlefield. It means that he is not really in a lion, right? He is the other, means he is very brave. So in order to say that he is the lion on the battlefield, that's what it says. Okay, so that's an example for metaphor. So can you find any such comparison in this poem? Yes, the first one, two roads. The two roads, he is comparing these two roads into the two choice or the choices in your life. Comparing road as the choice in your life. Right? It's comparing one things to another. Okay, so that is called metaphor, example for metaphor. And the next figure of speech, that is alliteration. What is alliteration? For example, the lines in the poem, the sentence, in a sentence, repetition of sounds in a consecutive words, repetition of the first sound, if it is similar in consecutive words, in a continuation of one after another, the first sound is similar, we call it as alliteration. So wandered where. So in this first, wandered starts with the sound, consonant sound w, and where also starts with the w sound. So repetition of uh, the same sounds in single sentence or in a single phrase. Okay, so that is called alliteration. The next one, what is, you can find the symbolism. Symbolism, for example, that again the two roads diverged, okay, diverged. So that uh, it symbolizes the two choices or the two directions in your life. So that is examples of symbolism. And which one we have missed? Imagery, the another poetic device, that is imagery. So author has created a vivid picture of, you are able to think, and you will get an image in your mind when you read this particular word from your poem. For example, yellow wood. So when you say yellow wood, you create an image in your mind, right? A yellow wood, that means it's an autumn season, a season of change. So that is called imagery. So these are the figure of speech used in this poem. Okay, so I hope this poem is clear. Okay, so this is a narrative form, consists of 20 lines and 4 stanzas. The poet called this poem as a tricky poem. I hope why is it tricky, you understood. So these are the choices that we make in our life. So author says about, as a narrator, what he had felt it, at the same feeling you will definitely, you will come across that kind of moment in your life, a situation where you uncertain. Okay, the result will be uncertain and you have to make a choice. You cannot stay forever. For example, after 10th standard you have to go with the higher studies and you have to choose one stream, either for science or commerce. You will be in a dilemma which one to choose. Okay, so and after that you may get whether you want to get married or you want to continue career, or after career, whether you want to have baby or whether you want to take care of your family or want to continue in your job. Those kind of dilemma you will come across like this, or which movie to choose. Those are simple one. You may not face such difficulties, right, in that cases. So there are hardship that you face in your life where you stuck in a moment where which one to choose, right? So these are all part of life and we must choose a path, and we can't stick or stuck in one place. That choice may take you to the right success, or it may lead you to failure. Whatever it is, accept it. That's what the author says. And we have to move ahead with, okay, our decisions. That's all about this poem. Let's wind up here. Let's wrap up this session. And your homework is you have to visually represent this poem either by drawing or by preparing collage. Or you can prepare a poem. You can create your own poem titled The Road I Took, the decision which you have made, and what are the consequences of it. Based on that, I can write the poem title, The Road I Took. So your choice. So that's all for today. Thank you for learning with me. I'm Sameera Ajmal signing off.